faces.
That's the one. That's the one. Here I am. Right, so we've had a little bit of a change round. I'm here in the other corner. In this corner, there's Kelly. In that corner, there's blank faces. Which we haven't got a point. Right, because I'm now disjointed. Up there. I can't no longer point up there. Because they're up there. Oh, see, it's weird now. I've got to try and get... I don't want to do that, because that makes my forehead look massive. We don't need that going on. We don't need that on a Friday night. It's big enough. Right, let's get my screen up. No, not John Preston on the notepad. Google Chrome. That's the one we wanted. So here I am. Here I am. We might need to tidy that up a little bit. Just so you guys can get a good view of what I'm seeing. Ba-dum-bum-bum. There we go. Right. Looking like a multimedia fantango's going on. Look at it. I've got an access database to this side of me. This side of me. Above that, over there, is my posters. And up there is my internet. Wait, right. We're getting my bearings. We're getting there. So we're on the National Crime Agency database. No new cases today. We've got case number 15006 991, which is case number 482 for us. So, like I said, let's get his image up. So, as you can see here, this is what the gentleman looked like. Let me go. I'll get him up on the top here, so you've got a quick look. A couple of identified cases there. We're hoping to see more this year. This year we're going to get some names. We're going to learn some stuff. There he is. I've gone past him. Right, there he is. So he was around 5'8" to 5'10" tall. Stocky build. No younger than 54 when he was found on the 14th of the 11th, 2015, or when he passed away, whenever that might have been. See, that's one of the problems is trying to figure out how long he's been there and how can we date him back to a certain time period. So, going back up, you get a little bit of information. In regards to the circumstances, the Missing Persons Unit said the skeletal remains of a male were discovered at Cloughennog Forest near Corwin, Devonshire. It is believed the body has been at the location for a number of years. He is believed to have been over 54 years of age at the time of his death, most likely in his 60s, and was born before 1950. So we know this case has dental records because dentistry shows weren't typical of that carried out in the UK between 1980 and 2000. So at some period between 1980 and 2000, he resided in the UK, and he suffered from both arthritis and an inflammatory joint condition, which I think that kind of information, if it's so notable in his autopsy, then I would have thought that would have put him a bit more older than 54 at the time that he may have passed. He said this would have affected his back and a number of other joints. And like I say, I don't know if this would be true to anybody else, but I would have thought having such issues would have come on later in life. So he was missing. He was found on the 14th of November 2015. So if he was 54 years old at the time of his death, we don't really have an estimated time of his death. That's the thing. This would likely have given him pain and reduced movement. So it may have been difficult for this person to walk around to get to A to B. Maybe a person that used taxis a lot. He had previously suffered an injury to his spine, a broken nose, and possibly an injury to his left wrist. A spinal injury is quite notable, isn't it? So age 60, age 50, and age 70. Just see the notability about the mouth there. Not sure if he had like a crooked nose. It says here body parts, feet missing, left and right. It was found in the forest. Why is his feet missing? Could it have been animals? Underwear, underpants, plain, large, classic briefs from Marks and Spencer's, and a jumper, a V-neck, plain dark green, extra large Pringle jumper. He might not have been a stocky build then. I don't know if they're basing it on his clothing, because 39 inch waist is quite a large waist, isn't it? Oh, it says large classic briefs. Well, we've heard about cases where people have suffered from hypothermia and they're stripped down. You know, clothing is one of those things that people don't have with them all the time. You know, you may wear your trainers for months on end, whatever that might be, your shoes or your coat, whatever it is, that item of clothing that you wear till your day's end. There's always there's something that you'll wear out. It's something that can easily be replaced or lost. For instance, say if somebody wanted to go missing and they were last seen in, say, a black tracksuit, you know, they're going to want to try and change a little bit. So they may change their clothes. Or, like I say, in regards to hypothermia, they may strip down. Supposedly hypothermia gives them an effect like they're overheating, and so they strip off all their clothes, when in fact they're shivering so bad because they're so cold that their body is working in overdrive. It shuts everything else down for your body to start shaking and try and cope with the heat loss. Wow, I said that intelligently. I can't believe I managed to stumble those words out. So we know he's got a lower back injury to the spine, so it's lower back. And it's an experienced inflammatory joint condition as well. So he may have had medication. But it's not known if his spine injury may have been the cause of his demise. But it sounds like there was something that, like with his left and his right foot missing. That's strange, isn't it? Now, I've heard about that in cases where bodies are in the sea and their feet detached from their body. I've heard of that. And I've heard of animals detaching parts. So I'm unsure. It seems to be that's the only, from what we know, these seem to be the only peculiar details that are, body parts, that are missing. Why his feet? Let's go over to the Wales Online. Let's have a look at their article in regards to this case. So we're getting some new images. So like I said, £20,000 reward to help solve The mystery of a man found dead in the Welsh woods. The mystery still surrounds the discovery of human remains in a Welsh wood more than a decade ago. In an article written by Holly Morgan, a senior reporter for Wales Online, on the 16th of January 2026. So let's have a look. So you can see a little bit better the image there. There we go, that's the area. So lots of grass cuttings, bit of edging. You can see some further in the back there as well. You can see the evidence boxes. We know there's an update in regards to a case. Where is it? In Yorkshire. So we know the skeleton found in Yorkshire the other day was a full skeleton and had been there for some time. So that's and it is definitely human remains. And Detective Chief Inspector James Entwistle from the Homicide and Major Inquiry team said, our team is working with experts, including an anthropologist, to better understand the circumstances of how the body came to be there and confirm the gender. Forensic experts investigating the discovery believe the bones had been on the site in Kiln Lane for some time. Police said further tests will now be carried out in an attempt to work out how long the bones had been there and how the person passed away. He also added, this process will be lengthy, but our ultimate aim will, of course, be to try and identify the person we have found. I would ask anybody who has any information which could assist our inquiries in any way to get in contact to the Homicide and Major Inquiry team. And that's in Yorkshire. West Yorkshire, to be more precise. So, just a little update there. They now know it's a full skeleton. This case, not a full skeleton. Quite notable. But were they like that when they came to be in the position that they're in? That's an interesting question. Were the feet removed at the scene? Or is that a secondary scene? Or is that the main scene? In 2015, police discovered human remains in a Welsh wood, and 11 years later, still no one knows who it is or who killed him. The remains of a man were discovered in Clocanog Forest near Ruffin in November 2015. Forensic examinations showed that the person had suffered significant injuries before his death and was missing teeth. So, information like that tells us that his injuries may have been the reason for his passing, or as to why he was there. I don't know if that would be because we've got a place already where someone's put in grass cuttings. Without sound, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but it's a bit of a dumping space. Humans find mad spaces like that, and collectively, those people that are out to litter, there are some, they find these spots and they all go and dump their rubbish there and stuff. Well, I think maybe this might have been a space that somebody had known. For years, his body lay hidden and undiscovered. I'm not saying it's the same person who dumped the grass. I'm not saying that. Let that be noted. For years, his body lay hidden and undiscovered until two brothers who were camping in the forest stumbled across his skull one night. The discovery led to the recovery of the remains of a decomposed body and to a major police murder investigation, which was drawn upon forensic tests, DNA checks, radiocarbon dating, dental examinations, crime scene searches, and facial reconstruction techniques in a bid to identify the man. Now there's a £20,000 reward issued to anyone with information that leads to the conviction of those responsible. Following the extensive forensic examinations, experts believe the man found was born before 1950 and was likely of Caucasian heritage, so most notably might be a white male. He is thought to have been between 5 foot 8 inches and 5 foot 10 inches tall, with a well-built frame and a history of back problems. It's believed that he died sometime between 2004 and 2011, so the back problems seem historic. But he was missing teeth, as part of a renewed effort to solve this case, police have re-released a mock-up facial images showing how the man may have looked aged in his 50s, 60s and 70s. Crime Stoppers, which is independent of the police, is supporting this investigation by offering a reward of £20,000 for information the charity exclusively receives, either online at Crime Stoppers or by calling 0800 555 111. And let's put both of that in there. Put it in my chat. So yeah, Crime Stoppers bit there. Where are we? There we are. The reward is available for 3 months and is due to expire on April the 16th, 2026. So we've got a deadline. We've got a deadline, people. Hayley Fry, National Manager for Wales at the charity Crime Stoppers, says someone knows who was responsible for this man's death. His family and friends, wherever they are, deserve answers and justice. Now, notably, quite a lot of no-body murder cases involve children or women. Here, we're probably looking at a no-body murder case involving a man. That's if people know of any male no-body murder cases. So I don't know about anybody else. When you think of some of these, right, you can't help but pinch back and say what if on somebody else. But I'll look at that privately, because I don't like going down rabbit holes to that extent online. Every single time you're wrong. So do you know what I mean? If ever it's gonna be right and you actually find a good match for someone, I've got to think, like, could you imagine if a family member saw that and they'd be like, how could they broadcast it to the world without us knowing first? I wouldn't want to do that. But like I say, every time you're wrong anyway. So, but it's still something to be mindful of. We're appealing to anyone who has information to contact Crime Stoppers. You can tell us what you know while staying completely anonymous. We don't want your name, just what you know. Every piece of information could make a difference, even if that's calling to give a name. It was November 2015 and the popular Wales Rally GB was visiting the forest in Devonshire, and the crowds turned out to watch the action. Despite the wet and windy weather, two brothers, Andrew and Mark Middle, decided to camp in the woods while watching the motorsport up close. On the night of Saturday, November the 14th, Mark was looking for firewood among the undergrowth near Pentrylyn Simmer. I'm saying that wrong, it's Welsh. When he came across what he at first took to be a rock covered in moss. On closer examination, his torchlight had picked out a human skull. Oh. The shocking discovery was reported to police, and an exclusion area was set up around the discovery site. A cordon which initially threatened to lead the cancellation of the next stage of the rally. Officers then launched a large-scale forensic search of the area, and over the following 3 weeks, the rest of the decomposed body was found among the dense undergrowth. Officers also found scraps of material and a label from a pair of pants in very close proximity to the skeleton, though it could not be established definitively if they were connected to the body. So again, even clothing is a variable. It's not definitive. You could say it'll give you something to investigate if you say find a man in a white shirt missing in the Cheshire area, and just a white shirt. And say you found someone in just a white shirt, and they're the same race. Obviously you've got to confirm by DNA or dental records, something like that. But that helps it. But when, say, you come across a case and they don't have certain items, you couldn't say that's definitely not that person's, because not all the time do you know everything that somebody has on them. The remains were taken away and a post-mortem examination conducted, which revealed that the skull had sustained blunt force injuries. What could have been a tragic accident involving a walker falling and being unable to move, or someone becoming ill in the woods and subsequently dying, was now a murder investigation. The examination of the skeleton yielded further information that the man was around 5'10" tall and well built, and that he had a healed broken nose and a fused vertebrae in his back. So, notable, so we know a little bit more about his back condition, and with it being fused, that's not something that happens overnight. That takes some period of time. So we know that was an injury that happened sometime prior to his death, and something that he probably knew about. There was also signs of injuries to his spine and wrist. Careful examination of the joints suggested osteoarthritis, which would likely have caused pain and affected his mobility. So, probably on medication for that, found it difficult to walk. Scientists were able to extract a full DNA profile from the bones, but no matches were found on the UK police database, nor on the missing persons database. Searches of familial DNA databases also drew a blank. Blank faces! However, from DNA sample, it was possible to tell the man was likely of Western European origin. So it's... there's more marbles in the bag saying he's white European than in any other bag. I don't know why I use that analogy. Over the years, police have made a series of appeals to the public for help, but none of them have led officers to the name of the man, and I can't read. A decade after this discovery of the body, the identity of the Clennoch Forest man remains a mystery. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I hope I am, because I'm putting some effort into that Clennoch. I'm trying to say it as Welsh as I can. Like, wouldn't that be an area? Is that an area someone would... I don't think it's an area someone would stumble upon by accident. I don't know if it's notable to the person that went missing, but maybe that area is notable to the person who made that person missing. Like they say, there's a murder investigation. And with that being said, it being a murder investigation, it's imperative to keep that case open to get as many leads as possible. So it might not have been somebody that's missing from Wales altogether. This might be a secondary destination that they know. Could it be a place where the killer may have worked? Camped out on holiday? A family member owns a bit of land there? Or works in the area for somebody that owns the land? You know, mad stuff like that. And I wonder, was the Derbyshire rally, was that something that happens every year in the same place? I'll see if I can find the bit where it says it. Even my skim reading has gone to pot. Where are we? Oh, there we go. The popular Wales rally. Is it in the same place every time? Let's find out. Oh, the last event was 2019. Interesting. Interesting, but probably not interesting enough to make a direct connection or anything like that. I've been looking on the British newspaper archives, because there's a lot of different articles about different missing people. You have to bear in mind a good majority of these cases are going to be resolved and gone and done, you know, and we might not ever know an update on any of them. Well, there's got to be some we definitely won't know updates on. So there's another issue. That's another blockage for us, because if we're looking for a case, there's no direct way to find whether that person was found or not. It'd be quite historic to ask your local force to do or something, you know. So, but I know you can delve deeper into your local newspapers. So for cases, if anyone ever sees a case that's from their local area and they think, oh, it's a 30-year case, that's from the 90s, 80s, 70s, you know, 60s, all of those good years, go and have a look in your local library at the newspaper records that they've got. See if you can find any articles regarding to their cases, because you'll be bringing something new, because there's quite a lot of cases, especially people found in rivers, by the Met Police. I'll just say that. Anyway, there's a lot of cases where they're not reported in the press, and so, or we can't find record of the reporting in the press. So this one's from Belfast. I don't want Belfast. I don't know why we're on this. See, the cases here, how they come up. We've got Cedric, convicted in 25 for his wife Delphine's murder. Then we've got Peter, convicted of killing his estranged wife. Richard, convicted of murdering his wife. Marital spouses, female. These are the victims. So right off the back, we've got another female victim, but male victims just seem to be one of those that are a little bit more unusual. But then it's 50-50, isn't it? It's either male or female in regards to searching for a scientifically gendered body. So I'm trying to be respectful, so I'm not trying to put anyone in a boundary. Where was I at? What was I saying? So male cases, you know, it's either got to be more male cases or more female cases. So it's always going to be either way. But it seems like the amount of female victims is a lot greater than... a hell of a lot greater than the male cases. So it's New South Wales in Australia. Is this all Australian cases? Oh. Oh, look. Got one for United Kingdom. Whoop whoop. I think I've been on this one before. Let's have a look at this bad boy. What we got here? So we got one back in 1930. It's a bit too old, that case. We've got 17th of August 1980. Oh, that's the dingo killed my baby one. Louise Bell. So this is the victim one, right? Yeah, right. So we're looking for male. Keith William Allen. Let's have a look at that one. Oh, I don't even know what number that was. Number 8. Huh? Right, now that doesn't help me out with anything. I'm going back. Going back to Wiki. Stupid Wiki. So. Keith William Allen. How old was Keith? He was aged 53 on the 28th of May 2000. Was an Australian solicitor murdered in a contract killing. He was educated at Northcote High School and the University of Melbourne, so that's an Australian case. Why are we in Australia again? Right, William Harrison. The Camper Wonder is a name given to events surrounding the return of a man thought to have been murdered in the town of Chipping, Camden, Gloucestershire, England, in the 17th century. Well, not that one. We should have seen it says spring 1661. I say we, but you know, it's a group effort. 1701, 1934. We're looking for a bit higher than that. John Smith, Cardiff, Wales, 1966. So this is in Glasgow, Scotland. John Coughlin, 57-year-old male. He left home in 1975 and never returned. On the 8th of September 1980, a man was convicted of his murder after pleading guilty and admitted murdering him with a hammer and lead weight. You never know how far someone could go. But I want the dates, don't I? 1975. 1975, the year Queen started the band, supposedly. I say supposedly because I don't want to say definitely because I have not researched it. I don't care to. I just want to sound like I know something. Let's put his details in there, just so I can refer back to that one. Interesting. It'd be very, very early on, but John Cullen murder. Shocking tale of how Glasgow cops found killer Michael Topham. Oh, interesting. Old case. The murder of John Coughlin in a house in Glasgow is unique in Scottish criminal history. It's the only case where a suspect confessed to murder, even though there was no body. It's also the only homicide where the killer claimed to have heard his victim's voice from beyond the grave. Oh, I don't need to be. Why are you making me question that conviction? Was he of sound mind? Or was that. Did it suddenly his conscience came into play? Who knows? Michael Topham was caught purely by chance while detectives from the Strathclyde Serious Crime Squad were investigating a series of jewellery thefts in Pollokshaws. People's homes were being broken into in the spring of 1980 while they were at work. The cop, as is normal practice, checked on known local burglars, but there was no evidence linking them to the crimes. Who are we looking at there? An undercover operation was launched one afternoon using an unmarked police car and detectives in plain clothes in a bid to trap the robber. They spotted one youth acting suspiciously and saw that he was also carrying a heavy-looking bag, one which the officers were hoping was carrying his housebreaking equipment. They jumped from their car, arrested the youth and looked inside the bag. What they found was even more than they expected. To their astonishment, it was full of jewellery. However, the suspect admitted under questioning that the jewellery had in fact been stolen from houses in the north side of the city. He'd been simply waiting to hand over the stolen items to a fence, or resetter as they're known in Scotland. So, someone keeping your stash safe. Like a stash house. A person that owns your stash house. The detectives checked the items in the bag and they did not match the items that had been stolen on the south side. However, the youth was still facing some jail time for being caught in possession of stolen goods. Back at the police station, the youth suspected asked the detectives if they might go easier on him if he told them of a more serious crime. His father had said that if he was ever arrested, he should always offer up some information to the police about an unsolved crime in the hope of avoiding charges on a less serious matter. The officer in charge of the case, Detective Sergeant Brian McLaughlin, jokingly asked the youth if he was going to help them solve a murder. To their astonishment, he said yes, and to their even greater surprise, it was a murder they didn't know about. The youth had been working with a tradesman called Michael Topham on a house renovation, and they had been listening to a radio programme about seances and life after death. The presenter played a selection of voices he claimed were from the afterlife. Topham told the suspect that he thought one of the voices he had just heard on the radio was of a man he had murdered. D.S. McLaughlin thought the youth was bluffing them, particularly as he had no name for the victim or date for the murder. There were no unsolved murders or even deaths on the books that matched what he was telling them. However, the young man had given them enough information to track down the address in the West End where the murder was supposed to have taken place, so back in Glasgow. It appeared that Topham had murdered another colleague while working on a customer's house in Knightswood. They went to the house and the owner gave them the names of contractors who had worked on his property. One of the builders said that a former employee, John Coughlin, had gone missing 5 years earlier. Coughlin, aged 57, a family man from Blantyre, had left home in 1975 and never returned. His wife Eleanor had reported him missing at the time, but police drew a blank in their search for him. Blank faces. So rather than being a murder victim, he was technically a missing person. A forensic search was done on the flat where the fatal attack was said to have taken place, and bloodstains found on the floorboard matched Topham's blood group. It's not completely solid then. Michael Topham was brought in for questioning and eventually admitted to murdering Coughlin with a hammer and a lead weight taken from a sash window when he was repairing. It turned out that Coughlin was a caretaker for the contractor who looked after empty houses being renovated. He confronted Topham after catching him stealing paint from a building site in Glasgow where they both worked. After the attack, Topham took the body in his car to his grandmother's house in Aberdeenshire, hiding it in a septic tank. So why is this a no-body one then? Topham told police he then buried John in El Kalilich Forest on the A93 between Bremer and Craffey next to the Queen's estate. However, weeks of searching by police, trained dogs and military thermal imaging equipment failed to locate the body. Topham was charged with murder and a second man was charged with helping him dispose of the body. The case when it came to court made legal history. He pleaded guilty at the High Court in Glasgow on the 8th of September 1980 and was given life imprisonment. It was the first time that an accused had confessed to murder while the victim's body was still missing. The second man's plea of not guilty was accepted. I don't like that news. Topham was freed from prison 11 years later in 1991 and died in 1999. More than 40 years later, John's body is yet to be found. A new investigation was launched in 2018 after human remains were found on the Inverclade estate, where the Old Kaliach forest is sited, but there was no match with the missing caretaker. Topham died in 1999, taking the location of his victim's body to the grave. The case echoes of the murder of Edinburgh office worker Suzanne Piley 30 years later. Her body was dumped in the Argyll Forest in May 2010, but despite extensive searches, has never been found. Remember, this is an old article, so that might have changed now. Work colleague and former lover David Gilroy was given life for a murder later that year at the High Court in Edinburgh. Again, that might have changed. At the time of the hunt for Suzanne 10 years ago, members of Mr. Coughlin's family said they were still haunted by his murder. They also admitted that Suzanne Piley's case had brought painful memories flooding back. John Coughlin's wife Eleanor died never knowing what happened to his remains. The man who brought Topham to justice, Brian McLaughlin, retired in 1997 at the rank of Detective Inspector. Now 74, Brian said, John Coughlin's killer may never have been caught had it not been for these jewellery thefts, which in many ways was a stroke of luck for the police. He had been reported missing 5 years earlier, and there was no suggestion at the time he'd come to any harm. Our suspect and Topham were working together on a house and listening to a programme about the afterlife. The presenter claimed to have recorded voices from beyond the grave, which he then played. He was so shocked that he even fell off the trellis he was standing on. That was when he broke down and told the colleague he'd heard the voice of a man he had murdered. Topham genuinely believed he was being taunted by the victim over the radio. While a separate police team searched for the victim's body, Topham was interviewed and charged with the killing by DS McLaughlin. Brian added, At first we thought the lad was stealing for time when he told us this incredible tale, but to his credit, it all checked out. I'm not sure why Topham confessed to him, as they were not particularly friendly. It may have been a boast. Human nature is incredibly complex. As far as I could make out, he was just pleased to get it off his chest. He wasn't known to police, and to all intent and purposes was a law-abiding citizen. It made legal history at the time, and in a busy career in the police, it was definitely one that stood out. More than 40 years later, the location of John Coughlin's body still remains a mystery. Brian added, "I hope the victim's remains will be found one day, and his family finally given the chance to lay him to rest." Interesting. I'll have to do a little bit more research on that one. Let's get back onto those cases from... Where are we at? We've got John... There we were. Well, this is an unusual one. So we've got victims Terence Eve, Robert Brown, George and Terry Brett, Frederick Sherwood and Ronald Andrews. The 6 claimed victims are confessed hitman John Childs, who said he carried out the killings on behalf of the other convicted, and that he dismembered and burned the bodies in his apartment fireplace. No evidence ever existed beside Child's testimony. Pinfold and McKenney's convictions were overturned in 2003 after Child was ruled to be a pathological liar. They were both jailed for life in November 1980 after being implicated in the murder by a former employee of the 2 men, Bruce Childs, who confessed to a series of contract killings. In 2003, the pair were cleared of the charges on appeal. This one's quite the number, isn't it? I'm going to have to get a drink in a minute. I don't really care about the killers that much, really. I'm not... Well, I suppose, actually... Well, not the killers, because 2 of them have been cleared. And, to be honest with you, sounds like John Child's a little bit of a liar. So, we might not be talking about any killers in this list. I've got to be fair and right. Let's just put their names down there, though, because it's notable names. We've got 2 newspaper articles. 2 pensioners were implicated 23 years ago in the alleged murder of a teddy bear manufacturer are likely to be cleared by the Court of Appeal after judges agreed yesterday both men should be free on bail. Right, the office is open. Pair jailed 23 years ago to be cleared of helping killer. This is an old article. Information may have changed since this article was printed. We're just following up old cases and trying to highlight the case of this unidentified male here in the left-hand corner. If you have any information, you can find the contact number below at the bottom of the poster, along with the case number. 2 pensioners implicated 23 years ago into the alleged murder of a teddy bear manufacturer are likely to be cleared by the Court of Appeal after judges agreed yesterday both men should be freed on bail. They were freed and cleared. The case of Terry Pinfold and Harry McKenney, both 70, was heard during a 3-day hearing. The Court of Appeal was told the alleged victim had never been found and the evidence of the chief prosecution witness was wholly unreliable. The Lord Chief Justice, Lord Wolfe, sitting with the 2 other Court of Appeal judges, ordered the release of the McKenney and extended the bail conditions of Pinfold, who was the first freed from prison in 2001. Criminal law experts said they expected both convictions to be quashed when the Court of Appeal delivered its reserved judgment in the next few weeks. Again, like I say, they were cleared. Mr. Pinfold and Mr. McKenney were jailed for life in November 1980 after being implicated in the murder of Terry Eve by a former employee of the 2 men, Bruce Childs, who confessed to a series of contract killings. Their appeals failed, but in August 2001, the convictions were referred back to the Court of Appeal by the Criminal Cases Review Commission. Lawyers for the 2 men argued they had been convicted on the testimony of a pathological liar. They called the psychiatric evidence to show that Childs, who had since retracted his accusations against the pair, was a skilled fabricator and highly intelligent psychopath. Pinfold and McKenney first met in prison in the 1970s and later set up a business making underwater diving equipment. One weekend in November 1974, another former inmate, the teddy bear manufacturer Terry Eve, who shared their factory space in Dagenham, Essex, went missing. 4 years later, Charles implicated his former employees in his crimes. Because of his evidence, McKenney was convicted of 4 murders, including those of a haulage contractor, George Brett, and his 10-year-old son, Terry. McKenney was acquitted of murdering Eve because of a lack of cooperation, but Pinfold was convicted of a charge of procuring McKenney and Charles to murder Eve. Eve's body was never found, and the Court of Appeal judges were shown evidence from a police file indicating a Scotland Yard commander, the late Bert Wickstead, believed Eve was living under an assumed name in London more than 3 years after his supposed death. Defence lawyers said the evidence, if it had been disclosed at the trial, would have shot Charles' credibility to pieces. Charles is still serving a life sentence for 6 murders. None of the bodies have ever been found. Charles claimed he had dismembered them and burnt them on his domestic grate. So his home fireplace. What? That's extremely grotesque, and I don't think that is possible to do without leaving a trace. When the credibility of that claim was challenged at the trial of McKenney and Pinfold, the prosecution produced evidence of tests made using a pig carcass to show that it could be done. But 2 people, and a pig is a lot smaller than a human, may be similar in weight, but size-wise, a bit more compact, aren't they? During the appeal hearing, Lord Wolfe said that when he read Charles' account of how he disposed of bodies, my common sense told me it was pretty an unlikely story. I would say the same. Outside the court, Pinfold said he was astounded at how long it had taken for him and McKenney to get justice. McKenney said, "I'm shattered at the moment. I'm very relieved. It's been a long time coming. It's 23 years too late. The case should never have gone to court in the first place. It was a fiasco." What an utter shame. What an utter shame that is. Imagine being imprisoned for somebody that's never been found. And it turns out they might be alive somewhere. Right, let's go back up to where we were before. Alright, no, it moved us. That's a woman and a young man, a young boy. Helen McCourt there. Lots of females. So we've got Adam Alexander. In 2010, businessman Thomas Pride was convicted of the murder of lorry driver Adam Alexander after Pride confessed that he had killed him after a row about a business deal. Pride had told police where he had buried Alexander after his arrest in 2008, but searches failed to find the remains before the trial. In 2012, Alexander's remains were finally located. Oh, I think when they're in green, they may have been resolved. I like that. I like that shindig. Why is this one in blue? 63-year-old Banfield was last seen leaving his family home in May 2001. Excuse me. His wife and daughter were convicted of his murder in 2012 after it was determined that they financially gained from the sale of his home and lied about seeing him in 2008 in order to fraudulently claim his pension. Their convictions were later quashed on appeal in 2013, even though they had pled guilty to fraud, forgery and perverting the course of justice, and the defence saying that the likelihood was that one or the other had murdered him. This was because they had been convicted under joint enterprise, and judges ruled there was insufficient evidence to prove that both had acted together to kill him. The wife and daughter of a man who vanished more than 10 years ago, which was 2001, have been found guilty of his murder. Don Banfield, aged 63, was last seen leaving the family home in Wealdstone, North West London, in May 2001. Shirley Banfield, aged 64, and her daughter, Lynette Banfield, aged 40, from Kent, were convicted of his murder at the Old Bailey. They both received life sentences with a minimum term of 18 years for Shirley Banfield and 16 years for her daughter. Following the sentences, Mr. Banfield's sister, Kay Hackett, said in a statement to the court, "Years of not knowing where Don was and then discovering the people closest to him had done such a wicked thing was unimaginable. Most painful now is not knowing how he died or where his remains may be. Without those answers, the pain will never subside." The court was told Mr. Banfield was murdered by his wife and daughter after he signed a contract to sell the family home, which resulted in £120,000 worth of profit. Crispin Aylett, Queen's Counsel, who will now be King's Counsel, prosecuting, said when he signed the contract for the sale, he was unwittingly signing his own death warrant. Mr. Banfield disappeared shortly after he retired from running the Hampstead branch of bookmakers William Hill. His son Kevin Banfield, who works as an occupational therapist in Brighton, told the jury his father had spoken of starting a new life. Mr. Allett said, at the time, Don Banfield was obviously expecting to receive a large amount of money from the sale of the house. He also had his pension from William Hill to live on. He had decided to set up a new life for himself on his own. Shirley, on the other hand, perhaps faced a rather bleaker future. She was 54 and on the verge of being abandoned without money to rehouse both herself and Lynette. Mr. Banfield's disappearance was treated as a missing persons case until 2009, when his former employees became suspicious and the police investigation was reopened. His wife and daughter had told officers Mr. Banfield would often disappear when he had money, and he was a womanizer and a gambler, so spoke smack about him then. Shirley Banfield claimed he had done a Reggie Perrin and faked his own death. She also misled the police about her husband's appearance, saying his dark hair had been dyed in a photograph and was now grey. An age-enhanced image of Mr. Banfield with grey hair and without his moustache was then circulated by the Met Police. So that's a trick image. He had darker hair and a moustache. The woman claimed to have seen Mr. Banfield in December 2008, but later admitted they had lied because they fraudulently claimed his pension. A garden was dug up. The jury was told that before he disappeared, Mr. Banfield feared his wife was trying to poison his food and told a friend and his doctor that he had been handcuffed to bed overnight. In 2009, officers examined Mr. Banfield's home, dug up the garden and the concrete floor in the garage, but his body was never discovered. Shirley and Lynette Bansfield was arrested in 2011 after inquiries in the UK, Trinidad, where Mr. Banfield was born, and New York failed to find any evidence that he was still alive. The pair... He was born in Trinidad. The pair denied murder but pleaded guilty to perverting justice, admitted conspiracy to defraud William Hill of £29,451 in pension payments, and the forgery of a disability allowance application. Shirley Banfield also pleaded guilty to dishonestly obtaining £34,382 on Mr. Banfield's state pension. Detective Constable Inspector Howard Groves of the Met Police said Shirley and Lynette's actions were driven by pure greed, and the evidence to support this is overwhelming. They have constantly deceived the police and other agencies in a bid to cover their tracks and portray Mr. Banfield as a gambling adulterer who walked out on them. Inquiries into finding the body of Mr. Banfield continue, so that one day he'll be given the dignity he deserves to rest in peace. And it's the same with all these people. This case, the case that we're looking at today, it's a case with all these people that they deserve the dignity to have their name back. We don't know the life that they led before they died. Sometimes we don't even know how they died. And to piece that puzzle together just gives them that dignity back. Once it, in a way, it settles them. And it does really and truly put them to rest with a rightful name. It's not something that needs to be shouted from the rooftops or put on every single YouTube video or in articles. Sometimes there's a need for privacy. But the main goal, really, at the end of all of it, is to ensure that they get their dignity back. And it's good to see that that's an objective with the policing service. Where are we at now? Where are we at? Let's go back to the United Kingdom. So, Don Banfield, interesting. You never know, one day when that's the date he was believed to have been murdered, I think it's supposed to be. Disappeared. Date he disappeared. Oh, this nobody case is an interesting one. Not one that I would... Well... Could feet have been cut off to try and fit into some kind of vessel, like a... Oh, I hate to say... a tub or a bin. Or a box. I don't mean to be horrible. I don't mean to be rude. But could that be the reason why there was no left and right feet? But this one, Jason Martin Smith, went missing on the 21st of August 2001. A conviction was made 10 years to the day. 28-year-old Martin Smith disappeared from Hastings at a time when he was receiving threats from other men after informing police that they had been involved in a burglary. Long-time suspects Mark Searle and Steve McNall were convicted on the abduction and murder of Martin Smith on the 15-year anniversary of his disappearance, after more witnesses came forward to report that the men had been seen dismembering a body in lockup the day after he vanished. Well, 28-year-old is way out of our age group. But interesting, that'd be a case of remains found. Jonathan Dalton was believed to have been killed by Stuart Martin when he disappeared on the 25th of February 2002, and a conviction was secured on the 16th of December 2004. 42-year-old Stuart Martin was convicted of the killing of his 22-year-old colleague Jonathan Dalton on December 2004. He had fled the country the day after Dalton's disappearance and went on the run before being extradited to stand trial. 42 years old, out of our age bracket. But an interesting list. I love a list, you know I do. Now we've gone too far. We did, so the John Coughlin one is quite interesting. Very interesting. That would have had blunt force trauma. Blunt force trauma. There we go. I'll get there in the end. We know Scott's doing a documentary soon as well. Looking forward to that, about Elon Musk. Fear Elon Musk. Has he got that on Centuries? The background music has been provided by the Relax Movement, the most relaxing playlist on YouTube. Anyway, what, Shuffer? Have I got to go all the way over here to just stop making me do things, mate? Right. But I need to, because
we want pro-human. Yeah. Like the future good for the humans.
Yes.
You need to see this trailer, that's why.
Yes, because we're humans.
Department of War AI will not be woke.
XAI's operations are expanding in the Mid-South following the purchase of another property.
How about this? Star Trek real.
This is really important for the future of the world.
It's hard to really see when he's serious and when he's not.
They built a power plant out there.
How can this happen? Why is this allowed and why has nothing been done about it?
He reinstated banned accounts of white supremacists. They regained access to the platform.
I'm a board asset of Putin.
It's absolutely fucking epic.
Yeah, I'm like, he can't afford me.
There's movies like Terminator, but it wouldn't quite happen like Terminator. The intelligence would be in the data centers.
It looks bloody thick. It looks so good. It looks so good. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I'm looking forward to that. That's my bit of my chill activity of the week, that one. When that one comes out. Let me get back onto my relaxed movement. I'll turn you back down. So case number 482 needs an article, so that's something we've still got to work on. I've now introduced into the database a date reviewed column, so I can now see when I'm... Oh, hang on. Oh, I haven't done an article, so I shouldn't tick it yet. I can now see what I've done when and what needs actioning. So that's work I need to get onto tomorrow. Get an article written up in regards to this case. £20,000 reward is a pretty smashing title, isn't it? The fact that we're getting a rewards now for unidentified missing persons cases is nothing but brilliant. So there'll be a case number 482 part 2. Because we've got to do some more. A poster ain't good enough, not just the one. I might get some posters in the background as well. That'll look sick in the background, wouldn't it? Imagine that, an empty poster as a blanket. That'd be sick. You can have your own details on it, and have it as a blanket. That'd be sick. What a cool way to record someone's data, their actual data about them. Give it them as a gift. If they ever go missing, you go, look at the blanket. It's got all the details on it. His height, his build, his age, when he was born. What size feet he's got, quite literally. What colour hair he's got. Has he got a moustache? You'd have to do it a description of the image. But that'd be cool, wouldn't it? Pipe dreams, though. You wish you could suggest something to the world and everyone would go and do it. Everyone wishes that, I think. The one magical sentence that changes everything. So yeah, that's it. We've been on a few interesting bits there. Let's have a look back over on... See, I haven't got any Welsh papers in this, from what I can see. No, just England. What was it? A Pringle jumper, did we say? Let's see. Was it a Pringle jumper? Pringle, yeah. And very notably, a 90s make Pringle. I've got a Pringle jumper somewhere. Proper wool one. It's proper woven and everything. Oh, the pattern's all woven into it. Looks nice with a white shirt under it. Smart little jumper. There's no extra images there. So I've got that's his poster. We've got a poster already, but we need to add it into the database. So it's without the notable Pringle pattern, you know. Similar to this one. Is this what we're looking at? Hey. Hey. That's not the colour I was looking for. That's not the colour I was looking for. That's blue. That's wine. Similar to that though. But we're looking at a more green colour, as we can see now. This is the Pringle jumper. Obviously the person missing him, I don't think, is gonna know that it's them from the location that they've been found. Because obviously the likelihood of them knowing the location that they've been found, more notable it'd be for him to like release a case. But like I say, he might not have last been seen in just underpants and a jumper. Who knows what he was wearing as pants? Could have been trousers. Could have been corduroys. Could have been jeans. I think that jumper in this image makes him look like a doctor. So this is my website, Planet Unidentified. Tomorrow, once I've captured some of the information. This is only like a basic overview. The information that missing person unit is giving us sometimes can vary from what we know, from what we get from the press as well. Sometimes the press get it wrong. Sometimes they store more data than the police do. Circumstances is a different list altogether. That's a different bit altogether, that one. Because if it's I think it's more of a location where somebody's been dumped, to be quite honest with you, than it is a location that someone stumbled to. But then again, not impossible, because there was 2 males camping in the area when they discovered him. Hair colour, facial hair and eye colour unknown. Lower injury to spine, lower back. It's more readable like that. An experienced inflammatory joint condition. There is that full stop. Plain large underpants. That's the info I need. I don't need the underwear bit. Then I want that bit that says jumper on it. Don't need nothing more. Oh, got an itchy bit there. Alright. So it's a little bit of information. Then we've got another peculiarity. There, we've got a capture. Wrong one. Although I've put there, it's not known if the feet were removed prior to death or after. I think you could rule out prior to death, because I think that would have been... Well, I don't say rule out, but I don't think that the police are implying that that is how, or part of how he came to be in that forest. It might have been because he was in that forest, his feet have been removed by animals. But then why not the rest of the body? Unless, you know, the other parts of the body were scattered. And I think that's what we read here, didn't we? That they carried on searching for a number of weeks and found the rest of the remains. And they said it was decomposed. So it's like it's already gone through its decomposition stage. And there was some dense undergrowth. And it had moss on it. Imagine just shining your torch in the woods and there you see a skull. Oh, God. Freaked me out. That must have been quite a shock for them 2 lads. 2 men. Must have been horrible. Let's get some of that information. Let's get that under a useful link. I like to put all my links in the articles. One, it's great for if anyone wants to do research, they can, and it's years on from now, they can then use the Wayback Machine to see if they can find this article again. But with having a direct link, people can see where I've got info from. Turn that into a quick heading. I'll bold it. A bit better. No, that's not how you spell that. Dun, 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 dun. A little better. So yeah, I'll have to have a little play about with that and gather some more information about this case. Hopefully we can put a little article together to make it a little bit more interesting to read and view. We've got a few more images to add in. Got a good poster. I don't know what that was. Right, anyway. That's it for the night. I'm done for the night. I want to go and chill. Gotta go to bed. And do all the normal things that adults do at night.
When a question isn't answered, when a mystery appears, when you lead with suspicion, careful. When you do, you're so bad.